Imagine getting lunch right from your garden. You'll be amazed how easy some veggies are to grow. And here to tell us how to grow onions and potatoes is Master Gardener, the green thumb guru himself, Ed Sourdiffe. So today we're doing tubers. That's what these are called, right?
Well, these are tubers and these are bulbs. So we're going to do onions and potatoes.
So, and they both grow in the ground, is that correct?
Yeah, both grow in the ground. The onions are actually related to lilies. So
like because you see those bulbs.
Yes, just like the lily bulb. Yeah, just like
really
that.
Similar. Scale of 1 to 10, how easy are both of these to grow?
Probably that onions are a little bit easier because potatoes you have some hilling to do, and we'll talk about that later. But they're actually both pretty easy plants.
So how does one get started with onions?
Well, onions you can start either two ways. You can start by seeds or you can start by sets. And I have a couple types of sets here, the red onions and the yellow onions here.
So these are what you'd buy at the store?
Yeah, right at the garden center. It gets you a little head start. There's pros and cons to onion seeds or sets. The seeds are a little bit harder to deal with because you have to do them 3 to 4 months earlier. Also, if you're putting them right into the ground, they're very hard to weed around because they have small root systems. So that's hard. But actually, if you do seeds, they say that what happens from seeds, that the plants will actually be stronger and they'll actually store longer for you. So there is that. So
it might be a better option if you're kind of in it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's it. But like I said, the sets are a great thing to have going, and they're a little bit easier too.
Can I ask you a really stupid question? Are these baby onions more or less?
Well, they're onions that they grew from seeds and then they basically stored, so they would be almost like an onion that went to into hybridation and ready to grow into the big ones here.
So it's kind of finished its first stage of growing. They did the work for you, and then you help it along the second stage.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
you put them in you put these in the ground.
Yeah, you plant if you're doing seeds, you're going to plant those about a ½ inch deep. If you're doing sets, you're going to plant them an inch deep. You want really good soil with good drainage. So you would use your compost again. I always say compost because healthy soil makes a healthy plant. You can buy that in bags at the garden center, or we are in a really kind of an area here with a lot of farms still. You can get composted cow manure, which is great, and actually you can buy compost in large amounts, and if you can get that, that would really help you out. If you're going to have onions, they say there's about 40 plants per person that you need. If you plant a scallion type of bunching onion like this, you can plant them 1 inch apart. If you're going to do a bulb onion like over here, you would plant them 3 inches apart.
Now let's talk scallions for a little bit, because these are a little pricey at stores, so if you can grow these a little cheaper, that's great. Do these differ from growing these?
Yeah, these will become a big bulb like this. They call these bunching kind of like a chives. They come up with a group around them.
So I would assume this, the white part's under the ground and then the rest pops up?
Yes, that's exactly right. If you plant your bulbing onions closer, you can actually, as the season goes on, you can actually cut the green tops. They'll get green tops like this, and you can actually cut them and use them as like green onions for cooking, and you can then space your onions out better.
Now I'm full of dumb questions today, so I have one more for you when it comes to onions. So they grow under the ground. How do you know where they are and when to pick them?
Well, you planted them, and so you know where they are.
I mean, like exactly where they are in the garden. I mean, I know they'll be on my property, but does something sprout up?
Oh yeah, it'll look basically like this here.
Okay.
You'll have a big onion leaves coming out like that, and each leaf corresponds to actually a layer of the onion. So that's kind of a cool little thing. You also want to keep these moist and in well-drained soil. If they go too dry, the onion, and you might have seen this before, will actually split and you'll get 2 onions in there. So you don't want that. You want to actually keep them full of moisture. They are ready to harvest when the top, like this, later on in the season will pop over like that, and it dries out and it's ready to go. So it'll lean over.
So once it's expended all its energy on the top, you know it's good to go.
Yeah, and then you just you actually will take them up and you will cure them for 2 months in a shady, warm, dry place, and then you'll turn them from time to time, make sure they turn this nice brown, and then you can store them for the rest of the season after that.
It's soups and stews and salads and so much more.
Everything good.
Thank you very much, but we're not done with that yet, because a little bit later in the show, we're going to show you how to grow your very own potatoes. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. So earlier in the show, Ed, the green thumb guru himself, taught us how to grow our own onions, but now this Master Gardener's back, so we're growing potatoes.
Yes.
Easy to grow?
Pretty easy to grow. All you need, once again, is good soil, good sun, and you're good to go. So
what do we start with in the process?
Well, you would put good compost in your soil, till it up, and then you can actually get ready to plant your potatoes. Potatoes you do by, you grow by more potatoes, which they call seed potatoes, which is basically a smaller potato usually, and it has all the eyes on it. The eyes are those little things that sprout out.
I
on the
understand.
potato.
Okay.
You can actually see some that are sprouting here. This one here, the eye has gone pretty far. You can actually see if I turn it right, through the eye is where the stem comes out, and also the roots come out there.
So you have these starter potatoes, and they're kind of the basis for the rest of your potato growth.
Yes, yes. And so what you're going to do with them, if you have a small enough starter potato, probably a little smaller than this, you would actually just plant that in the ground whole. And that's actually a good thing because then you don't get any kind of rot happening. It's already sealed. But like this one's a really good one. It has a lot of eyes all over it. You ideally want 2 to 3 eyes per part of the potato. So this one you can actually, if you want to just cut it in half, right down the middle. Okay, I probably would have made it straight so you'd have a little less surface area, but that's all right.
My mistake.
So now what you're going to do is you would actually leave these in a warm, dry place that has a good humidity for about 2 days. And so this will actually dry up a little, and when you plant it in the ground then, it will not rot as easily. You can also dip this end after you let it dry for a bit in a sulfur. They sell that at garden centers, and that'll prevent rot there also.
Now, why would you split it on the whole as opposed to just putting your whole potato in there? To get 2 bulbs?
Yeah, you can get 2 different plants out of that because you only need 2 to 3 eyes per potato. This one already has 3. This one has a lot more.
Oh, so in a sense, you plant them now separately, and it becomes 2
different plants. Yeah. And so then this is ready to go. What you're going to do, which is different than most planting, where you just plant the seed in the ground or whatever, you actually make a little furrow. So you're going to actually dig a little trench in the ground about 6 inches wide and about 6 inches deep. And in the very bottom, after these cured and they're ready to go, you're going to plant that in the bottom of the hole, and then you're going to just cover it with 3 inches of soil.
So it's kind of like a set it and forget it situation.
Well, no, you're not going to do that yet.
That's what I would do.
Well, yeah, but you can't do that.
Wrong.
What you need to do then is cover it with the 3 inches of soil, wait a couple weeks, and now the stems will be coming out of the ground there. Now you want to take, remember we put it down in a trench, so now we want to take some of that soil from surrounding and cover it over, again, the stem with about 3 inches more of soil, leaving a couple inches of that stem up out of the ground.
So you more or less do the process twice.
Well, you're going to do it a couple more times too, because the reason you're doing this, you're actually mounding what they call hilling up the potato, is because you don't want the potatoes to turn green. Green is when they're exposed to the sun. The flesh will be turned green, and you can actually see some of these actually have been exposed to the sun.
If you look at this one right here.
Yeah, you can see it's green here on the skin.
And so it's the tint. It looks like kiwi-esque almost.
Yes, exactly. And that's actually a poison called solanine.
Oh, can I touch it? Are you trying to kill me?
Yeah,
okay.
And you don't want to eat that. It would just, you'd have to eat tons of potatoes for it to affect you. So all you would have to do is peel that off, and if you see any green potato inside, you would also get rid of that too.
Well, it was a health tip. Thanks for that one. All right.
So yeah, all you have to do is then you keep mounting it up, and every time a rainstorm happens or something like that, you would make sure that all the potatoes are under the soil so the sun never hits them like this. And even in storage, these were in storage, this greening can happen in a store under fluorescent lights, or if you store them at home in regular sunlight, that will happen. That's why they have to be stored in darkness.
Now, how do we know when they're done?
When the potatoes are done, in 10 weeks after you plant them, you can get what they call new potatoes. And that's just a small potato that has a thin skin, and that's 10 weeks after.
Well, that's good for like home fries and hash.
Yes, they're excellent. They're really tender and tasty. Then if you want regular sized potatoes, what you're going to do is actually wait till the end of the season, and you can tell when that time is because the potato plant itself will die back about by half. They'll start withering back in half, and then they're ready to start actually harvesting. And if they don't look big enough, then you can just mound it back up, whatever you tried to fork out, pack the soil back, and come back 2 to 3 weeks later, and it'll just keep on growing.
So when you get it the size you want, call it a day.
Yeah, yes.
Ed, these are great tips. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you want even more gardening tips, anything the Green Thumb Guru has done, just visit us online, mymassappeal.com.